Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, we have two monitors because we like to watch TV while we play games. It's dangerous to go alone, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society goes with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Mark Mitchell. We've got a good show for you this week. We're going to be talking about the news from the week, including Min Min coming to Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. And then on Thursday, we're going to be talking about Nintendo's E3 presentation from 2011. But Mark, in the meantime, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I mean, I think it's worth pointing out that we are, as always, coming to you from our own tastefully appointed apartments.
That's right.
So while it is true that I think seeing into Masahiro Sakurai's home is the first time we've seen it from a Nintendo developer, know for sure, dear listener, that we are always recording from our tastefully decorated apartments.
And you may ask yourself, hasn't that always been the case? Only sort of. Usually we come to you from my house. But since quarantine has started, we are, in fact, recording in our own separate homes. And listener, you will be happy to know that through the phone, I can see a blank white wall behind Mark. And Mark, you can see behind me
a blank white wall. A tastefully appointed blank white wall.
Are we boring, Mark?
Us? I don't think that could possibly be true.
Speaking of things that couldn't possibly be true / things that are boring, would you like to borrow my copy of Sonic Forces for the Nintendo Switch? You are allowed to do so, or at the very least, you are allowed to get on a list to someday borrow my copy of Sonic Forces for the Nintendo Switch. All you need to do is email us at Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com. And give us a mailing address, and we will send you a copy. You play it for as long as you want, and then you send it back. I know I just said a copy. I send you my copy. This is the copy that I poured my blood, sweat, and tears into, and I loved it briefly, and then sent it along to listeners to play.
Yeah, that's a really good point, and something that I don't think that we've made explicit enough is that this is not a program where, we have multiple copies of Sonic Forces that we're sending around pretending that they are the single copy of Sonic Forces. No, each and every person on this list will someday receive Patrick's copy of Sonic Forces that has also been blessed by everybody who borrowed it before you. It's a program worth having.
And it is the only program like this in the universe. I feel confident in saying, Mark will blow it out even further, the only program like this in the multiverse. You will never find another program like this, no matter where you travel and no matter how long you live.
Especially a successful program. We don't need to dwell on this any longer, but I think your point is well taken.
Speaking of things we don't need to dwell on for too much longer, look, there was no E3 this year. An entire convention just evaporated off the map and replaced by 1,000 little digital conventions. But Nintendo, still no real presence and no real presentation. So instead, we are spending the entire month of June going back in time, figuratively speaking, to examine Nintendo's E3 presentations from years past. And we've done a bunch of them already. 2004, 2006, 2010. This week, on Thursday, we are doing 2011. Mark, what's special about 2011?
It's the Wii U reveal.
Yes. Prepare for some brand confusion.
I'm looking forward to this one because I have zero memory of it.
Yeah, and I know that is a little bit of a common refrain on these. You and I being like, did I watch this one? Even though I know I must have. But yeah, I'm very excited to get into it. If you would like to watch it in the days between now and Thursday, and have any thoughts you want to share with us, the presentations are up on YouTube, and you can email us at Nintendo Cartridge Society at
At
gmail.com,
gmail.com.
or you can tweet at us at NinCart Society, and we will check it out there. All right, Mark, let's get into what we've been playing. Shadow dropped last week. I guess there was an announcement, but no hype, no trailers, not even a video on the Nintendo website. I am of course referring to Jump Rope Challenge for the Nintendo Switch. I have been playing it every day and getting my jumps in every day. My goal is now set to 300 daily. Mark, have you downloaded and or played Jump Rope Challenge at all?
Yes, I did download it. For those of you who don't know, it's like a cute little game that one or two developers at Nintendo, I actually don't know the exact number, but they put together during their work from home period. And it's really like it has a very fun like do-it-yourself feeling. It's a little rabbit, I think it is, and you can
it's a little rabbit.
You can change their clothes, and basically all it is you take the two Joy-Con and you're making like the jump rope motion, and it just keeps count of how many you do. It starts with a goal of 100 that you can edit at any time, and it just encourages you to every day like check in and do your jump roping. It's a really like cute, fun idea.
Yeah, and it's it is hyper simple. There are not a bunch of flashy options here. Your reward for hitting your goal on a daily basis is a high res image of something. Like the first day it's a cat, the second day was like the beach. I got the moon once. There was an image of like a kitchen. Like it's all just very simple stuff. The music is super adorable. Every time you jump, it makes like another note play in the song, and it times each 100 to like the final note in a phrase. So when you hit your goal, it's always like on the end of a musical phrase, and that's always really satisfying. It's something that I've not played for more than like 2.5 minutes a day, but those 2.5 minutes have been totally delightful. I love that this exists. It costs you nothing. It's like borrowing Sonic Forces, except you can do it right now.
Mental bookmarks for ourselves, Patrick. We have to remember this rabbit, who, as far as I know, is nameless. When the next time we do like which character should be in Smash Brothers, or
100%.
He's got to be in a ranking. He's got to be in a ranking because he has so many great clothes. I'm wearing the little tuxedo. I don't know what you've settled on.
Oh, I've settled on like a red tracksuit, I believe.
Oh, nice. Yeah, very classy.
Sarah and I just watched Rebel Without a Cause, so I like that red jacket look right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I when I saw that movie for the first time when I was like 16, I still count it as one of my favorite movies only because of all the teenage emotions it made me feel. But also, I always wanted a red windbreaker like that. It's really it doesn't look as cool on me, I'm sad to say.
No, I mean I don't know that it looks. We watched Rebel Without a Cause this weekend. It was the first time I'd ever seen it, and I was like, "Oh, as an adult, I do not relate to any of this." And also, just like, man, we have explored these themes of like, white middle class angst so much and in so many like more intense ways since 1955. And it's just like I don't understand what any of this, anything is going on here. But yeah, I mean, like the jacket still, James Dean pulls it off. So.
The jacket still holds up. So I got my hands on a copy of Ring Fit Adventure. Big shout out to friend of the show, June, who sent me an Amazon link as soon as they went live. Was finally able to get one. It showed up in my house. I did it on Saturday, and it totally kicked my butt. Like my legs are still sore. I was like, I can't do it. Sunday, I was like, I just cannot. And so I was like, well, okay, I'll do it on Monday. My legs still too sore to like do it again.
Wow.
And so, but
you went too hard.
I went too hard, and it tells you like my legs not in great shape, clearly, right? But I don't have anything bad to say about it. Like setting it up it takes a little bit of time like to calibrate it and all that kind of stuff, but it's super simple, walks you through everything. It's maybe like 5 minutes and then you're ready to go. And then you're going, and it does this thing where like you it keeps track of how long you've been exercising, but it really is just like how long you've been exercising. So if you're not like moving or doing an exercise, it doesn't count it up. And so,
Sure.
like you're at the end of like a 20-minute session or whatever, and it's like, no, you've exercised for 15 minutes. You may have been like doing this for 20, but you were only moving for 15, you cretin.
It's like one of those productivity measurers that's like tracking your eyes.
Right, yeah, exactly. And
No, it knows.
I was
Go ahead.
expecting it to not be like I don't know. I just wasn't sure like how accurate was the like leg, like strap
Mhm.
going to be and all that kind of stuff. But it really works well. I've been really impressed with it, and I'm looking forward to like in a few days getting back to it.
Well, I believe you and I will continue talking more about Ring Fit Adventure as well. And actually, let's you and I talk about this a little bit. We mentioned on last week's episode that copies of the game are starting to be available at major retailers, including Target and Best Buy and GameStop. Obviously, you were also able to find one on Amazon. I was able to place an order for one at Best Buy, but to pick up this Wednesday. I placed the order last Wednesday. It evidently will be at the Best Buy, 4 blocks from me in just a couple days. So I will get my hands on my copy, presumably then, and we'll talk about it more. But I think it's very interesting that like they did it. Like Nintendo has, they there was a report early on in quarantine that like they knew that supplies were short, and people were selling them on the secondary market for like 3 times as much as they should, and like they're actually getting them out there, and that's uh, slow, but everything is slow right now, and it's impressive that it's happening at all.
Yeah, totally.
So I look forward to busting my legs with Ring Fit Adventure as well. But in the meantime, I'm still playing Animal Crossing New Horizons. And mostly it is just in support of Sarah, who's still playing it like more intensely than I am. But we decided earlier today that we are going to look. There are lots of things that aren't happening this summer, right? A lot of uh, theme parks are closed, restaurants are open, but who's going to them? And the Hollywood Bowl canceled their entire season. So we have decided to build the Hollywood Bowl to the best of our abilities on the island of Valhalla within our Animal Crossing New Horizons game. And so we like sketched out some plans this morning, and I've been terraforming, and Sarah's been crafting, like log benches and then customizing them. So we're building the Hollywood Bowl at the moment.
That's amazing. I can't wait to see what it turns out like. I Do you have plans on holding some sort of like event or concert when the Hollywood Bowl is completed?
Mark, that's a great idea, and we definitely should do it. I don't know what all that entails, but yeah, absolutely, we have to do it. All right, so that's most of what we've been playing this week. Let's get into the new releases and what we might be playing next week.
Today, Tuesday, June 23rd, SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated is released on Switch. A game that I don't understand the genesis of. So I'm assuming it's a game like this is a remake of some sort.
Yes, so the SpongeBob SquarePants: The Battle for Bikini Bottom is a PlayStation 2 slash original Xbox era like 3D platformer, like kind of collectathon kind of game.
that I feel like people must have enjoyed because one, somebody figured they needed to remaster it, and two, I feel like I've seen like a lot of like previews and coverage on it. So that's cool. I like SpongeBob. Um,
But this game doesn't interest you, or at least you don't have any enough familiarity with it too.
yeah, I don't have enough familiarity with it. But yeah, happy that it exists. Same with Little Town Hero Big Ideas Edition, which I think is like kind of like a complete, well, maybe not a complete, but like a major like rejiggering of the game.
Interesting.
That I think, and look, this is all based on hazy memories of headlines I half read, but I think that they've done like, like some substantial changes to like balancing and like some of the mechanics to address some of like the criticisms of the original release. And I don't know for sure whether those are like part of like an update for people who bought it digitally originally, but that is my vague understanding of what Little Town Hero Big Idea Edition is.
Well, which is interesting because the thing that we have listed on our like run of show just indicates that this is the physical edition of it. So it's possible. I don't know. I'm trying to read about this on the fly, which is never a good idea. I think it may just be the physical edition, which is like packed in with like a book and like some other stuff. It's like a special edition slash physical version of the game.
So I think where we can net out on this is that
Yeah.
if you are interested,
Do some research.
Because we don't know. Something we do know that I am excited for is Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, which was supposed to come out earlier in the month and got a delay, is being released today, presumably, fingers crossed. And I'm definitely going to be picking this up. I am very excited for this. Also,
yeah, the last time it was delayed like 2 days before its launch date. So hopefully they worked out whatever they needed to, because I want to play Episode 1 Racer again.
Yeah, when you and I played like the fancy advanced version of it,
Racer Revenge.
yes, that was a lot. That was a surprising amount of fun. So I've been excited for this ever since. Duke Nukem 3D 20th Anniversary World Tour is released on the Switch eShop today, and also Pokemon Cafe Mix released on the Switch and also on mobile. It's a cute looking game where you are like a barista at a cafe, and Pokemon can come and like work there, and then also you're making drinks for Pokemon. I don't know. It looks super cute.
Yeah, and we'll talk more about it when we get into the news too. But I think it's very interesting that Episode 1 Racer got its revised release date within this week. Duke Nukem 3D 20th Anniversary World Tour was also announced this week, and Pokemon Cafe Mix also all announced this week. We are in E3 season. Even though E3 is not happening, games are being announced and released, and like it is a crazy time for games, and we're just in it.
And then tomorrow, June 24th, is Ninjala is released on the Switch eShop, which is the, I believe, free-to-play, kind of Splatoon-esque looking ninja game.
Yeah, yes. This is another one that was delayed, but is finally coming out now. All right, let's those are the new releases. Let's close this out. Now it's time for a regular segment on our show. It's time for 433. In 1952, American composer John Cage wrote a piece called 433, wherein a performer or group of performers didn't play their instruments for 4 minutes and 33 seconds. For the purposes of this show, our instruments are talking about Nintendo. So, for the duration of one performance of 433, Mark and I will talk about something not at all Nintendo related, thus fulfilling the contract of the piece. Mark, today we are going to be ranking a set of movies. The movies in question are the 1990s Disney animated movies. Some ground rules, Mark, I think we need to lay out. What do we mean? What counts as a Disney animated movie? Is it like Walt Disney Studios? What's the specific nomenclature here?
Yeah, the specific nomenclature is Walt Disney feature animation. So no Goofy movie, no Nightmare Before Christmas. If it didn't come from like Walt Disney feature animation in the 90s, it does not make this list.
So I know that it is not on here, but DuckTales and the Treasure of the Lost Lamp does not belong on this list, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Because that would be my number one, baby. I love that movie. So what is on the list?
So we have The Rescuers Down Under, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, The Lion King, Pocahontas, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, Hercules, Mulan, Tarzan, and Fantasia 2000, which is in on a technicality because it premiered
right.
at Carnegie Hall in December of 1999 before going into wide release in January and then widest release in June of 2000.
Right. Wide parentheses IMAX release
Yeah.
in January. Okay, so I mean, I feel like there are some obvious like heavy hitters that like go at sort of an unquestionable top. But for me, I feel like Lion King is almost unchallengeable on this list as number one.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
And then for the bottom of the list, I would want to put here are contenders for the bottom of the list for me: Rescuers Down Under, Pocahontas, Tarzan. I would say those are bottom three, not necessarily in that order.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. I would say Rescuers Down Under is probably my least favorite out of this group, but partly because I mean I haven't seen a lot of these for a really long time, but I only have vague memories of the Rescuers Down Under. And so like, yeah, I'm fine having that be probably the bottom pick. Ooh, actually, maybe Pocahontas, because that movie is just like kind of like boring and just
boring
kind of, like,
and racist.
bad.
Yeah. Like, so we've got 10 movies here. I'm comfortable putting Pocahontas at number 10 right now. Maybe Rescuers Down Under at number 9, and Tarzan at number 8.
Yeah.
Tarzan is just so rough, and that the Rosie O'Donnell gorilla character Turk is just one of the worst characters in the history of cinema. Okay, so that where do you what's the next worst, Mark?
Okay, so I actually struggle a little bit with this. If I would go Hercules or Fantasia 2000. And here's what I'll say about for Fantasia 2000 is I love the idea and I love a few segments, but I think overall as a package it is not very good.
I will agree that as an overall package it is not very good, but it's high moments. That Pines of Rome with the flying whales is awesome. And I even really like the Pomp and Circumstance with
Donald Duck.
Donald as Noah. And the arc. So like I feel like that's pretty good. I may even put that above Hunchback. But I think it's for sure above Hercules for me. I don't like Hercules at all. I think. Yeah, I mean, do you have anything good to say about Hercules?
Hercules is a hard movie to defend. I don't think it's bad. I think it's just kind of like a little bit of a mess. Good music though.
Yeah, there's some good music in there. Okay, so let's pit Hunchback against Fantasia 2000.
They're actually kind of interesting to pit against each other because they're both like really ambitious in their own ways and both like, you know, get tripped up with weird like tonal issues or whatever. For me personally, I like Hunchback more. Again, I really like some segments like Rhapsody in Blue and Fantasia 2000 is interesting.
Oh yeah, forgot about that.
Like the Firebird Suite at the end is great and like all that kind of stuff. So actually, yeah, maybe I'm talking myself into Fantasia 2000 above Hunchback, even though there's so like. Well, we'll never know. But Hunchback had Burger King toys. That is crazy. That is so crazy.
That the Hunchback had Burger King toys?
Yeah, it's crazy that they try to merchandise like Quasimodo, not because he's not a lovable character, but because that movie is so dark and then it has Jason Alexander. It's so weird.
Yeah. Okay, well, we'll have to finish this ranking another time, but in the meantime, we were accompanied by pianist G. Liu. All right, Mark, let's get into the news.
All right, we've got to talk about yesterday morning's reveal of the new downloadable character for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Of course, director Masahiro Sakurai revealed the new DLC character with a little bit of preamble talking about how, you know, like they were filming this back at the beginning of May. It's unusual circumstances. It seems like he possibly like set up and recorded himself for this.
Oh, totally. I mean, he says, you know, like someone from Nintendo brought over recording equipment, and then there's like an insert of a photo of the recording equipment. It's adorable.
So the new character that we're getting is Min Min from Arms.
Before we dive in deep to the rest of, and we'll talk about every inch of this video, I'm sure, and every detail that came out of this. But just like surface level, how do you feel about Min Min as representation for Arms?
I think it's a good choice. It's not like the weirdest choice that they could have made, but it's also not like the blandest choice. Like it's not Ribbon Girl
Yeah.
or Spring Boy or Spring Man. And so he's a man. He's a spring man.
He's a man. He's a man. She's a girl. Though.
So yeah, like I feel like it's a good like kind of like in between. It's a more interesting choice than those, but it's not as crazy as like the weird DNA like googly experiment thing.
Yeah, yeah, and is a good. All of the DLC characters to this point have been male, with I guess the exception of Banjo Kazooie, which is 2 characters, 1 male, 1 female. But it's just good to sort of right that gender balance, even just a little bit.
So running down some of like the big features that come with Min Min. Min Min's final smash summons the rest of the Arms fighters to pummel her opponent, which is fun, and you'll get your twin tail that way.
Thank you.
her level is Spring Stadium, which is technically Springman stage, but like who cares?
Right, what are you gonna do? I mean, and her Min Min's level in Smash Brothers is like that ramen bowl, or in Arms is a ramen bowl, and so like its defining feature is this sort of like concave, the one that goes in, concave, I think, shape to it, which I don't know if that totally translates to a Smash Arena in the same way it does a 3D fighter like Arms.
Yeah. And then so it has like spring panels on either side which can launch characters and deal damage a little bit, not exactly like, but like the fighter's ring in which is that for Little Mac? Who has that?
Yeah, sure. That has like the ropes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty much like that's the high level stuff for Min Min. You get
well,
some
do we want to talk about how like the character Min Min works at all, or
yeah,
like,
but yeah, please.
So she is, being an Arms character is based mostly on like range attacks, and she has one button does her left arm, one button does her right arm, which is more in line with how Arms usually works, but is sort of unique for Smash Brothers. And her down B ability changes her either right or left arm, whichever one is on the special attack button. So she has that sort of like 3 move set thing that you can like cycle through that will change her side B, up B, and just neutral B moves. So a little bit of like a stance character in that regard. She can also throw from a distance and stuff like that. And then additionally, just as Min Min has in Arms, she has the ability to kick projectiles back at people, which is a cool little way to incorporate a special move that she had in that game into this one.
Sakurai also introduced some new. Oh wait, sorry. I feel like we're bearing the lead here a little bit. Patrick, what did you think of your sneak peek into Masahiro Sakurai's home? Is it what you expected? Do you like his choice of couch?
His choice of couch was fine. I guess it seemed a little sterile to me. His entertainment center was impressive, monolithic, some would say, right? It's basically like you take my entertainment center, copy and paste it, and just have 2 of them right next to each other.
Yeah, we alluded to it in our cold open, but like he has 2 genuinely enormous televisions like right next to each other.
Yeah, like not enough space between them for even a Catholic high school dance. And he says that he does it so that he can do competitive gaming when he has friends over, but also because he likes to watch TV while playing games, which is adorable.
I agree that it was like sterile is a good word for it. But it kind of looked like a furnished apartment, but I expect that is said with no judgment.
Yes.
Like expect no less, because I believe that unfortunately for all of us, that man is going to die in the office if that was his choice. Like if he wasn't quarantined at home. Do you know
Yes.
what I mean?
Hmm.
So I don't think he spends much time at home, honestly. Sakurai,
I mean,
please spend more time at home. Put things on your wall so you want to spend time at home, so it feels like a place you want to be. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
he did have one of those nice like house plants
It's
in
really
the background.
nice. Oh yeah,
Hmm.
his house is gorgeous. I'm like, no, not saying anything bad about his house. I'm worried about the
Right.
man's
Right.
health. Okay, so he also showed off some new Mii Fighter costumes, which actually like on before I was always like Mii Fighter costumes, whatever. But in the last couple of like of these reveals, we've gotten some really fun ones. Like we got Cuphead not that long ago, and so
Right.
it's become like something that I've looked forward to. And I felt like for me, this did not disappoint. We got Ninjara from Arms. We're getting and I'm not a Tekken player, so what is
Hey,
this?
Hachi.
Heihachi from Tekken, Callie and Marie from Splatoon, that's super fun, and Vault Boy from Fallout, again, super fun. And there'll be 75 cents each like they always are.
Yeah, and the Vault Boy, just like Cuphead and Sans from Undertale, are like the full body thing. So it's like it even changes the like shape and look of the head of the character, like kind of obscuring whatever me face is under there. Although unlike those other two examples, I don't believe he comes with music from Fallout.
Mm-hmm.
Both Cuphead and Sans came with music from their respective series. So
I don't
yeah,
think
I
there's
think
any
these are.
notable music in Fallout to like share.
But there could be like some kind of old timey
That's
something, right?
true.
That
That's
sounds
true. Yep.
sounds
Yeah.
upbeat, but is actually foreboding. Um, the Callie and Marie ones are really cool. Heihachi is a weird one because that is one of those costumes that has existed in previous versions of Smash Brothers and just hasn't been introduced yet.
Oh,
Um,
interesting.
yeah, one of these that I complained about when we were ranking
Right.
Mii Fighter costumes back in the day. So, I'm glad it's finally here. I'm already bought it on a different system. I'm not going to pay another 75 cents for it here. And it's kind of cool to see Ninjara, another ARMS representative, getting a little bit of love here.
We also got a mention of Amiibo. Somebody at Nintendo was still talking about it, and I literally gasped when I watched it because I kind of keep forgetting. It's like a going concern in some ways. Okay, so he revealed a Joker Amiibo and a Hero Amiibo that are going to be released sometime this fall.
Yeah, and just for clarity's sake, this is Joker from Persona 5 and Hero from Dragon Quest 11S Echoes of an Elusive Age Definitive Edition for the Nintendo Switch.
And they look cool.
They do look cool. They look pretty basic, but like the Hero amiibo is really nicely detailed, and like the texture on his clothing and stuff seems really good. I've been sort of off the amiibo buying wagon for a while, but man, if I didn't sink 80 hours into Dragon Quest, and if I don't, I love that character. So that I may break my amiibo fast for Hero when he comes out, which is evidently sometime this fall.
Now Sakurai makes two comments here when he's talking about Amiibo that like I don't know what to make of. So the first one is that he notes that some of like the characters have become different versions of themselves in Ultimate, and all like the previous runs were based on their Smash 4 looks. But
Yeah.
like there's no follow up to that. He just
No,
like
he just
throws it out there as
he
a
just
fact.
sort of mentions it and then is like, but there are so many characters. Anyway,
Yeah.
so someone like Zelda, for example, like Zelda's a great example that in Smash 4 she was kind of based on the like kind of Twilight Princess version of Zelda. And in the new one in Smash Ultimate, she's sort of based on the Link Between Worlds design of Zelda. And so her amiibo looks nothing like the character in Ultimate. Would it be super cool if they put out a line of like revised for Ultimate amiibo? Yes, of course it would be cool.
The other thing that he mentioned, and I'm one. I'm is this was this like a fever dream, or Patrick? Do you remember this as well? That he says
Yeah.
something about like they don't know how many they're going to make of this like Joker and hero figures.
Oh yeah, he said that they would be like in limited quantities or something. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. I guess just everybody like be prepared that Amiibo they're back to being super hyper limited.
Yeah. Well, and that I mean, I know that they are, committed to making amiibo for all of the Smash characters, which means, at least another 3 for the DLC set that already exists, plus another 6. So like I'm sure that it is something that Nintendo is more or less dragging their feet on, producing these things out of obligation more than anything else. So yeah, why not make them like rare collector's items?
Yeah, that's a good point. We're getting 18 new music tracks, including the main Arms theme and all stage music from Arms. And Arms has great music, so that's cool.
Yeah, I feel like Arms, and yeah, it is remarkable that it's most of the music from the original soundtrack of Arms is just in this game. And I feel like the Arms music is a little bit underappreciated in like the canon of Nintendo music, and maybe it's because it's a newer franchise and it doesn't have like, there's nothing like grandiose or like big about it, and it's all kind of like big band stuff. So it also doesn't have that sort of like 8-bit hook to it. But it's a lot of good music, and I'm excited to hear it in Smash.
Sakurai also mentions, like COVID-19 and the state of emergency in Japan. And again, he was recording this back in May 2nd, but he talks about how, like hopefully by the time this is released, things are different. But no, things are not really different. But he, of course, stresses that they're still planning to release all 6 characters in this fighter pass. And that, like they're doing development as, like much as they can from home. So we find out that Min Min will be released on June 29th. And of course, it is $5.99 for like her specifically, plus like all the music and the new stage. Or if you bought the Fighters Pass Volume 2 for $29.99, you Min Min is included, which actually brings me like to a point. Like I forgot, like I have not bought Fighters Pass 2. I'm curious if you have, Patrick, or and if you haven't, if you have plans to.
So I have not purchased it yet. I was sort of waiting on, which is stupid. Like I was gonna buy it anyway, but I was waiting on the announcement of the first character just to, find out who it was gonna be. And yeah, I don't know when, I will buy it. Partially because like I haven't turned Smash on in a long time, but when she gets added and people are playing, or maybe when like the next character is released, I'll feel that FOMO and throw down the $30 to just get all of them. But yeah, I don't feel a ton of like urgency to spend that money and get her, just get that one character now. I can wait. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I feel basically the same way. Like, I haven't put, I haven't turned on Smash for a while. But what I do feel, and why like you can tell that like Nintendo has their hooks in me, is that I have this like in the back of my mind, I have this fear that I'm like I am going to be play Smash Brothers someday with somebody, and they're gonna turn on my game and they're gonna be like, "How come you don't have Min Min? Or how come you don't have any of the 6 characters? Like those are my favorite characters." And so now
Yeah.
I'm like, I've got to complete it. I bought like the first Fighters Pass. I just feel like it's inevitable that at some point I will spend the $30 and just get all of these characters, even if I never really do anything with them.
Yeah, I'm, and I mean, I yes, 100%. That's one of the things that I don't know that I'm like worried about it necessarily, but I'm just like,
I can't sleep, Patrick. Must be nice to be you.
I don't look. Smash Brothers is one of those games where I do feel like I need to be a completionist about just like having it all. I did it with Smash 4. Like I had it on both Wii U and 3DS, and I bought all the DLC characters on both platforms. So like it's one of these things where I'm just like, yeah, this is I'm a ride or die like Smash fan. I pay for it all. Give it all to me. I need it. I
I
need it. I need it.
I also can't tell if like, okay, if I don't buy it, does that mean, look, I just want Sakurai to take a rest, right? So it's like if I buy
Yes.
it and if I like contribute to um like purchasing it, will the somebody at Nintendo like let the man stop if they're just like, yes, we have enough revenue, like we don't need any more DLC, like please take a break? Or by not buying it, is that sending the message that like, oh, people don't want this, we should just give Sakurai a break and let him do something else?
I mean, here's the thing. He is committed to making the last 5 characters here, right? After Min Min. So no matter what, buy it or don't, buy it piecemeal, buy it all together, he's going to be tied up making Super Smash
That's
Brothers
true.
DLC
That's true.
characters till the end of 2021 at least.
It's a good point. Doesn't
But
matter what I do.
yeah, but I mean, if you want to discourage them from releasing a Fighters Pack number 3, maybe don't buy it.
Bloomberg is reporting that Nintendo will refocus its efforts away from mobile games and toward console games. This decision is likely coming on the heels of reports of poor performance of Nintendo mobile games, both historically, like they've never really, outside of maybe Fire Emblem's Heroes in Japan, have never really had one that caught on. Like I know that Mario Kart Tour had a ton of downloads, but basically what like the article is coming down to is like it talks about like Nintendo really hasn't found a monetization that makes sense because they don't want to do gotcha games. And
Right.
but they like they tried with Super Mario Run to get people to pay $10 up front. It didn't really pay off. With Mario Kart Tour, they've done the gold pass, so like a subscription. And Bloomberg reports that the revenue for that has been like below expectations. And we kind of talked about this, I can't remember when, but it's like, yeah, with like this, they kind of needed to do this when the Wii U was tanking. But now that like they're riding high on Switch, they have more room to be like, yeah, we don't really like want to do mobile games, so they can pull back on it for now.
Yeah, I mean it is interesting that like Nintendo did try to like explore the pricing models, and like you mentioned, the Super Mario Run price model not being super successful for them, because $10 is a lot to throw down on like a one-time purchase on a game, and then like subscription and microtransactions and stuff like that. But I wonder if they had just priced their games more, like if Super Mario Run was like $5 instead of 10, if like that would have been a more attractive package, um and sold to more people. Like I just they explored the space, but I don't know that they really explored it enough. But I mean, I don't know, frankly, outside of Super Mario Run, there hasn't really been a mobile game of Nintendo's that I've loved. So if they're just going to, refocus that money and those developers onto Switch games, like, yeah, that's fine by me.
Yeah, one of the things that I thought was interesting in the article is they talked to an analyst from Ace Research Institute, which sounds super fake, Hideki Yasuda, and
Uh-huh.
his point with like gotcha games is that it, like having something like that relies on having a franchise that has a really long history and like hundreds of characters that you can draw from, so that way every like week or month you're introducing a new one. And that he feels like outside of Fire Emblem, Nintendo doesn't really have a franchise like that. And it's kind of hard to argue. Like I was struggling to think of another one that would even come close.
Yeah, I mean, and until you start like mixing everyone together in like a Smash style game, but like that requires way too much development, and yeah, it wouldn't really work the same way.
Yeah, because like you look at like Dr. Mario World, right? And like as much as I love it, like Dr. Goomba Tower, is not
Dr. Goomba
like
Tower, he's
is not
perfect.
like a super compelling character. Um, all apologies to the Doctor. But yeah, so Nintendo has partnered with the company DNA in Japan, and they were part of a lot of their original releases. And basically, DNA has said that you shouldn't expect a new app from them and Nintendo before the end of the fiscal year, which ends in March of 2021. So it's like it's seemingly they've slowed down a lot on these mobile releases, which is maybe not a bad thing because um they've done a lot of their heavy hitter franchises. So like, what does like a Zelda mobile game look like, right? Like, to be able to really
Yeah.
spend time on that is probably um well, hopefully time well spent.
I mean, until they put out a WarioWare on mobile, they
It
are
just makes
leaving
so much
money
sense.
on the table.
I know. I completely agree. I completely agree.
Or
Um
even like a Mario Party, like something that you could do like with friends while you're like waiting in line at a like amusement park, or for a table at a restaurant. All these things that don't exist anymore.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that I thought was interesting is that they talk about in the article, like, that it's not just Nintendo. They briefly talk about Sony and how Sony, they had a company who was taking older IP that is kind of like dormant now and, putting mobile games out for them. And they were finding like not really any success with it either. Like, obviously, mobile games are it's a hard market to crack. It's not
Yeah.
as easy as like analysts were hoping that it would be for Nintendo, where it's just like, oh yeah, just like put your games on phones and it's just a license to print money.
Yeah. And you know what? I like it. I think it's fine for Nintendo to get out of a space that, recognizing that they didn't understand it in the first place, and just get back to doing what they do well. A lot of this, you said riding high on the Switch, but like specifically on the sales of Animal Crossing New Horizons, like, Nintendo has a way to, monopolize the like social media conversation, in a way that I don't know. And I know like my Twitter feed is obviously catered so that I see a lot of the things that I want to see. But like in a way that Microsoft certainly doesn't do, other big publishers can't do. And even Sony, unless they're like, firing off a big, hour and a half of new games for the new generation of PlayStation, that like they can't even do. Like Fire Emblem had its moment, and obviously New Horizons had its moment. Like I think Nintendo knows now, how to get attention and how to move, hardware and software, on console.
Okay, so there was a ton of Pokemon news last week.
Just a ton.
Um, so probably like the big surprise reveal is that at long last, a new Pokemon Snap game called exactly that, new Pokemon Snap, is coming to the Switch sometime. No date on it, and it looks like it features Pokemon through Sword and Shield. This was big. I honestly never thought that we would see another Pokemon Snap game. I just thought that they didn't have time or the developers to do it.
Yeah, it seemed pretty unlikely, and it seemed like if they were ever going to put one out, why not put it out on the Wii U, which is the perfect system for it. um, but also, it's not the perfect system for any game because no one bought it. So the Switch, truly the perfect system for Pokemon Snap. Yeah, a little bit frustrating to not have any more information about when it's coming out. But the Pokemon Company, like outside of their like main core games, is pretty good about having a short tail between announcement and release. So I would suspect that we see this game before the end of the year.
Yeah, I think in normal times that I would agree. I think it was very strategic to not put like any date on it. Um
Hmm.
because yeah, it could be this year or it could have been planned for this year, but will now like end up falling to 2021 maybe. Who knows? I think it's interesting that Game Freak isn't developing it, that it's being developed by Bandai Namco, which has become like a really close partner with Nintendo, working
Yeah.
on a ton of projects.
Well, and also they working with if not Game Freak, then the Pokemon Company in Pokken Tournament as well.
Oh yeah, that's a great point. Yeah. But that's not the only Pokemon news we got. We also got Pokemon Cafe Mix for Switch and mobile, which we talked about in the new releases. This free to start, like cute looking Pokemon Cafe game.
And interesting to note here is that it only works in on the Switch in handheld mode. You cannot play the game without using the touch controls. So, tabletop and TV mode, verboten, you have to play it by touching it.
And then also they showed off Pokemon Smile, which is a mobile app that helps kids brush their teeth.
Cute.
And then also there's going to be a big announcement that they teased that'll be happening on Wednesday, June 24th.
Any guesses, Mark, as to what that is?
I have no idea. I mean, new Pokemon Snap's already been announced, so what's bigger than that?
What if it's just the release date for Pokemon Snap?
I'm into it.
Yeah, I mean it's a great question. And it's especially because we're coming off of the first release of the DLC for Sword and Shield, right? So like we're not in a place to really get more. Like they're not going to announce like a second pack of DLC before the first one is finished coming out, and we're not going to get like a like deluxe edition of Sword and Shield bundled together as they would have done it in the past, or even like a deluxe version like an Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon situation. Which sort of leads me to believe that maybe it's another remake or another game in like the Let's Go flavor of games. I mean, it could also be like a Pokken Tournament #2. Like it could be anything like that.
I also wonder, and like, does it have to be game related? Like, is it a new movie or something like that?
Great question.
Speaking of Pokemon, so evidently there's been some confusion for players purchasing the expansion pass for Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield. So, in which I kind of get, it's interesting that there is no like universal pass. So you don't just like buy a pass and then whatever version of the game you have, it'll work on. You need to make sure that you're buying the expansion pass for the right version of the game. So if you bought Sword, you have to buy the Sword expansion pass. If you have Shield, you have to buy the Shield expansion pass. Initially, Nintendo was saying like there's no refunds or anything like that, but they've softened that stance. Like in recent tweets about it, they were saying like, oh, and if you accidentally bought the wrong one, like contact us, reach out to us on the website, like all that kind of stuff. So it seems like that they are working with people to refund on a case by case basis.
Yeah, so if you messed it up, if you have just been talking to your friends too much and forgot which version of the game you have, Mark, do you remember what version of the game you have?
I have, of course I do. I have Shield.
And I have Sword. We remember, but if you have forgotten and you buy the wrong one, just go to Nintendo's support website and follow links and call some phone numbers from there, and evidently they will help you out.
On last week's show, we were reporting on some rumblings that a new Kingdom Hearts something might be happening soon, and Monday night, like right after we'd recorded, but before our episode was released, news came out that there was a Kingdom Hearts rhythm game that is coming to Switch and other platforms in fall 2020. A game in the vein of Final Fantasy Theat Rhythm. I actually have never tried to say the title of that game out loud.
I think if I were to say it, I would say Theatrhythm. Like I would align it a little bit tighter.
Yes.
It's obviously a portmanteau of theater and rhythm. But when you combine them, like like you would just you have to say one of the words in a way you wouldn't say it.
But yeah, so it's a Kingdom Hearts rhythm game that is coming to Switch later this year. The first Kingdom Hearts game on Switch. So just like interesting to see Square Enix continuing to do these like spin-off games.
And the name of the game, by the way, is Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory. I don't know if you watched the video of gameplay. And I've never played Theatrhythm, so I don't actually know if it was the same in the Final Fantasy version of it. But it's weird to me how much like the characters, like there are sound effects associated with the characters like yelling and like swinging their swords at the notes because it's like it's obscuring the music. It's very strange to me.
Also, no Disney music. It's all just like Square Enix, like original soundtrack music for the Kingdom Hearts series.
which makes sense, but is definitely a bummer, especially considering like the Kingdom Hearts 3 makes like set pieces out of like Let It Go, for example. But I guess for a smaller release like this, Disney's not gonna, let them run wild with their song catalog.
Well, I mean, I think it all comes down to licensing, right? Square
Yeah.
Enix is probably like, I don't want to pay that money. Last week, EA held their EA Play Live event for 2020 and dropped some kind of big Switch news. We get Apex Legends, the free-to-play. I was gonna say MOBA, but that's not correct. What do we call these? Like
No,
Fortnite
it's like
type
a
games?
hero shooter.
Yeah. Apex Legends will be coming to Switch and Steam sometime this fall. The Apex team said that they were hoping to have cross-play enabled between all 5 platforms. So that's Xbox, PlayStation, Steam, Origin, and Switch by the end of the year, which is pretty cool. Like, I love that cross-play is becoming more and more just like a feature that developers are striving for.
Yeah, I like that too. And it's nice to have like Switch in that conversation too.
EA is also saying that they're going to release a number of Switch games, 7, I think, in total for Switch in 2020. They mentioned The Sims 4 in this presentation, but they're bringing it to Steam, not Switch, which seems crazy to me because The
I
Sims
don't
seems like
understand.
such.
I
Yeah,
don't understand.
I don't understand either. So afterwards, we found out that the game Lost in Random and there would be coming to Switch, and also that FIFA 21 Legacy Edition will be coming to Switch. So after Apex Legends and Burnout Paradise, which was just released last week, that leaves 3 other projects. And VentureBeat says that those are Valen Studios' new game, which I think hasn't been announced yet, a Need for Speed Hot Pursuit remaster by the same company who just remastered Burnout Paradise, and then Plants vs. Zombies Battle for Neighborville. So that would round out the 7 games this year, allegedly.
Is that Plants vs Zombie games one of the like shooter Plants vs Zombies games or one of the like strategy ones?
I don't know.
Okay.
And finally, we have a little bit of an update regarding the Billy Mitchell saga, the cheating scandal, alleged cheating, and I think we stressed this before, and we continually cannot stress it enough, especially with these new developments. Mitchell's scores were removed, if you don't remember, from the Twin Galaxy records after he was accused of achieving his size scores on an emulator instead of on the original arcade hardware. But Mitchell has always maintained his innocence and even filed a lawsuit against Twin Galaxy. The controversy caused Guinness to remove all of his world records at the time, but they have since reversed their decision and have reinstated all of his records. They say, quote, "In the light of compelling new evidence received by Guinness World Records, the records management team has unanimously decided to reverse decisions made in April 2018 in regards to video game high scores achieved by Billy Mitchell between 1982 and 2010.
So just to throw the brakes on there for a second, that is a long career in high score chasing. 28 years of world record setting high score runs by Billy Mitchell had been wiped off the map because of an alleged cheating scandal. First by Twin Galaxy, which is an arcade that sort of like keeps these records, and then Guinness, the Guinness Book of World Records, who I guess was just like, oh, well, Twin Galaxies is the authority on this, and if they say it doesn't count, then we're gonna, also take it out of our records. And it's interesting that there is some compelling new evidence, unspecified by Guinness, that has made them reinstate all of Billy's records.
That's right. And I won't run down the exact point totals for all of them, but that includes like the perfect high score on Pac-Man from 1999, the highest score on Donkey Kong from 1982, the highest score on Donkey Kong from 2005, from 2007, and from 2010. The statement continues, "This reinstatement also re-recognizes Mr. Mitchell as the first gamer to reach the kill screen on Donkey Kong on 7th November 1982, and the first gamer to score 1 million points on Donkey Kong on June 4th, 2005. Guinness World Records is always open to accepting new evidence for historical achievements and to reviewing new and existing evidence for disputed titles. In this case, a re-examination of the records in question and the emergence of key eyewitnesses and expert testimonials led to a reversal of earlier disqualifications and the reinstating of Mr. Mitchell's original records. The records archive has been updated accordingly to reflect this.
Wow, Mark, it's quite the saga, and I know we've come down hard on Billy Mitchell in the past.
No relation, can't stress that enough.
No relation.
My hot sauce
right,
empire is
right.
my own.
And Mark, of course, does cheat at Donkey Kong. All right, let's get out of the news. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. Remember, please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. If you like the episode, you can share it on Facebook or Twitter or wherever you share stuff. Follow us on Twitter. I'm at Patrick_Ellers. Mark is at MKE Mitchell. And the show is at Nin Cart Society. We also have a Facebook page, which is just Nintendo Cartridge Society. Olivia Duncan made our logo. Our theme music is provided by 8BitBetty. You can get more of his music by going to 8BitBetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Ellers getting 1 million points in Donkey Kong and saying thanks for listening.
That's right, Nintendo Cartridge Society listeners, what is going down?
Are you ready for a promo?
Let's do yoga. Let's get fit.
Hi, I'm Nick.
And I'm Muriel.
And we're the hosts of Hella in Your 30s.
A podcast about a cool couple trying to do adult stuff.
So each week we invite you to join us as we try to learn things we should probably already know, like how does a stock market work? Can we install that bidet? Why are all of our houseplants dying?
This is a podcast for people of all ages because remember,
Age ain't nothing but a number.
but being hella in your 30s is a state of mind.
So tomorrow's a new day. Let's order pizza.
Campfire.